Welcome to Build Your Maverick Business, the podcast for underdog, outlier, and renegade entrepreneurs. If you dream of going off on your own and launching your rebel empire, but don't know where to start, you're in the right place. We'll teach you how to use mindset, branding, and practical advice to build a killer business and transform your world. And now, here's your host, Alex Pitt.
Oh my god, hi everyone. Sorry, I know, it's been a fucking while, to put it lightly. I was really toying, by the way, I'm going to be honest with you all, I was really toying with the idea of just not even acknowledging the fact that I've not put out a new episode in about a year, but of course I wouldn't do that to you all. That would be mean. I'm going to hold my hands up and say, sorry it's been a while, sorry it's been a little over a year since I was chatting business nonsense in your ears. Listen, I can only apologise. There's a lot been going on. Since the start of last year, I know right at the start of the year, did this big old announcement, oh, I'm shutting down Strange, that's not going to be a thing anymore. My business will cease to exist as it currently does. Well, as expected, I then had to go off and do some other stuff, didn't I? Got to pay the rent, got to keep myself in black hair dye, guys. So I had a big old career change, big old pivot, which I'll tell you a bit more about shortly. Very relevant to this episode. But yeah, I've done some other stuff as well. Got married, minor, that was good fun. And apart from, I think, asking for a Hoover for my birthday recently, it's the most grown-up thing I've ever done. Yeah, good times. Someone's wife now. I worked full-time for a little while in-house in someone's company. That was fucking awful. Never doing that again. I might actually do a whole episode just on the absolute fuckery that was going in and working for somebody else. I didn't last very long. We're talking a few months. Most of that I was mentally checked out, if I'm honest. But yeah, we'll come back to that another day. Because it's been so long, I'm really rusty, not gonna lie. I'm like an hour late to start recording this because I couldn't find the cable for my microphone for a start. I was elbows deep in a box of wires. Then I couldn't remember how to work the equipment. And then I just started the same sentence at the beginning of the podcast episode about 4 times because apparently I've forgotten how to fucking speak. Anyway, we're back. We're back on track, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I've been up to since the start of last year. Very relevant. I'm not just going to tell you my life story. I'm going to bring it back to business as her. Some time has passed, but not that much has changed. So yeah, I've gone through this whole big change in my career recently. Like I say, at the start of last year, I told you that I'd stopped running Strange, my creative agency. It was a good run. Like I've said, I knew design. It was second nature to me. And so at the time, it was the most natural thing in the world when I launched Strange to make that the business I ran. I do not regret that at all. I'm very happy I did it. I don't regret those years, even though that's not the business I'm running anymore. I learnt so much about running a business, a lot of which I've already spoken to you about on this podcast. I learnt about leveraging my own personal brand, about mindset, about marketing, user experience, funnels, finance, and suddenly, I was there like, oh, I actually know quite a lot about how to run a business. I get this and I can teach this. Beyond speaking to you about this on the podcast, I did think to myself, hang on a minute, can I, rather than working on branding and design, step into other businesses and work on this for other clients? Can I be a brand and business strategist and pass on my experience to others? The spoiler answer is yes, I fucking can. That is what I'm doing now. But it seems natural, right? You do something for yourself, you learn the ropes, then you go off and you do it for other people for money. Well, when I realised that actually this is something I enjoy doing and it's something that I've sort of accidentally become quite good at and quite experienced in, I thought, well, I'm going to take that even further because you see, pals, I love a certificate. So I went off and I took part in a several week-long programme, accredited, darling, don't you know, to learn how to be a business mentor, a mentor to startup founders. So I took all of this experience and then I did this really awesome training course. It was taught live in a cohort and I was with some exceptionally talented people in this cohort. I had to do a case study. I mentored an actual real life startup founder in real time. Very smart, very experienced dude, who I'm pleased to say actually gave me some lovely feedback. Got my certificate, it's in a frame. We had a graduation party. Job's a good un, right? So what should naturally happen right now is that I go off and I find some lovely clients. I was lucky that within not too long after after completing this course, I ended up with a couple of really wonderful clients, working on some projects that had fueled me in a way that I hadn't been fueled in a long time. I was excited about work in a way that I hadn't been for a fucking while. So, surely I hear you say, that was a short story with a happy ending. Technically, yes. However, try telling my silly little brain that. Because the problem is, and I've spoken about this in the past, I have the most crippling, debilitating imposter syndrome imaginable. It is actually the grimmest thing ever. Because here's what happens in my brain. Everything will be going well. Logically, I know what I'm doing. Everyone seems happy. The clients are cool. Everything's going well. And yet, for the first several weeks of working on these cool as fuck projects with cool as fuck people, I convinced myself that I was shit and useless. And any minute now, someone is going to have the chat, in inverted commas, to say, yeah, Alex, listen, we've only just sussed out that you're a moron and you don't know what you're doing. We were just being nice this whole time, so don't let the door hit you on the way out. Classic imposter syndrome. I started second guessing everything. What if I'm not cut out for this? Why would anyone really want to pay me for my services, for my experience? Am I kidding myself? But then I remembered, literally everyone goes through this. It's not just me. Especially founders, right? Especially people who don't have a direct manager above them to let them know whether or not they're doing well. Especially the ones who care, who really want to do a good job. Because pivoting in your career, showing up, leveling up, it takes it out of you. Unless you are a fucking sociopath. So in this wonderful mentorship program, I learned so many things, given so much great advice, but one piece of advice that really stuck with me, that I keep coming back to get me through this ridiculous imposter syndrome. The only confidence trick that seemed to work for me is this. Just know you add value. Simple. You don't have to be the world authority on anything to add value. I remember many years ago, and I cannot remember for the fucking life of me if I've already told this story, so you're going to hear it again. I'll keep it quick. I remember, she's back. I remember many years ago speaking to a peer of mine, someone in my network, someone on my radar, who had been sober for 20 odd years. He went along to all the meetings still and spoke to people at all levels of their sobriety journey. So people who have also been in it for 20 years, some people who had just started out, have been doing it for not even 20 days yet. And one thing that he found, I guess, a little bit frustrating, but mostly really interesting, was that those newly sober attendees, the people who had only been at it for a few days, didn't want to go to him for advice, even though he had been doing it for such a long time. They wanted to speak to people who had been sober for a month, a few months, the people who were only a few steps ahead. So despite this guy having decades of experience, it didn't necessarily mean he was the best person to advise. So sometimes being a few steps ahead wasn't just okay, it was preferable. It makes sense then that the clients that I'm working with at the moment aren't multi-million pound global corporations. They're newbies. They've only been at it for a little while. They're still finding their feet. I'm a few steps ahead and I do add value and I can help them. So if you, like me, have the classic imposter syndrome, your brain's a dick to you at the best of times, let's break it down. Right, here are some questions. I like to come at it with a bit of structure every now and then. 3 questions to ask yourself to help you get through that blocker of, I'm not good enough. Someone's going to have the chat with me. I'm going to be booted out on my arse. First up, what value are you adding to people's lives that they would be willing to part with cash for? Pretty straightforward. That's a foundational one. If you're asking, why isn't my thing selling, whatever it is that you are selling, the first thing you need to check is this. Are you solving a painful, annoying, or time-consuming problem that someone will happily pay to fix? Say, for example, you are a copywriter. Anyone can write, absolutely, but you help people write in a way that sells. You can help them turn their website into something a little bit boring and a little bit beige into a money-making machine. That's value. That's cash-worthy. Or say you're a coach who helps burned out mums find, I don't know, half an hour of sanity in their day. That's not just you offering your time. You're giving them relief, giving them peace. That is a priceless vibe. People will pay for that. People will always pay to save time, avoid pain, or gain confidence, or pursue pleasure. If your offer ticks any of those boxes, you're good, you're golden. Right, number 2. What value are you adding that they can't get elsewhere as good for free? The internet is full of freebies. YouTube tutorials, templates, blog posts, chat GPT answers. So if you're wondering why the hell someone would part with cash to work with you or to buy buy something from you, it's because they're not paying for information. They're paying for implementation. Bit of wordplay for you there. For support, for clarity, for somebody that they can WhatsApp or email if they have a problem, for answers that they can't Google. They're paying for you. First-hand example here, I give out business advice on this podcast for free. But as a founder, you can't just listen to this podcast necessarily and implement everything that I say. However, if we work together one-on-one, you're not just getting tips, you're getting a laser-focused, no bullshit, let's actually get it done approach to your actual brain and business. That's what they can't get for free. The shortcut, the mirror, the collaborative brain power, if you will. So whatever you do, just make it clear why your paid stuff hits different. Is it your process, your speed, your empathy, your weird and wonderful brain? Number 3, last one for you. What value are you adding that your competitors aren't? Now, you know me, this isn't about dragging other people down. We don't do that here. It's about knowing your edge, your secret sauce. What do you offer that other people don't, or that they just can't? So for me, I work with underdogs, misfits, weirdos, people who never really fit in. I'm not going to fit in a corporate environment. I'm not going to work very well with people who love a bit of jargon. No beige advice, no trying to fit into a mould, no navy blue, no generic. So you can hire somebody else to help you out with your business for sure, but I'll help you unleash the version of your business that scares LinkedIn a little bit. That's my edge, that's my value. So ask yourself, what are you really good at that other people aren't necessarily? What do people rave about after working with you? What can you say out loud that your industry is too scared to admit? That's the stuff you want to be doubling down on. All right, a little homework for you. I'm not going to let you listen passively and drift off without doing anything. If this applies to you, here's what I want you to do after this episode. Just answer those questions. Honestly, boldly, no playing small loves. All right, I'll be back next week, I promise. In the meantime, it's lovely to be back. Have a wonderful week. I'll catch you here next time. If you love what you're hearing in this podcast, but you are still yet to start that rebel empire of your own, I've got something that might help. Head over to the show notes of this episode where you will find a free 7-step action plan to kickstarting your first side hustle. It's got pretty pictures, it's got activities. What more could you want, my loves? Get it downloaded, try it out, let me know how you get on.